My coworker framed me for stealing from the company. She was so confident that she used the same scheme to frame someone else at her next job. The second woman she targeted called me on a Tuesday morning and asked if I wanted to compare notes. What started as a conversation between two wronged strangers ended with a criminal investigation. I worked at a boutique accounting firm for 3 years. I liked my work, I liked my clients, and I liked most of my coworkers. The one exception was a woman named Heather. Heather was 7 years my senior, had been at the firm longer, and resented every form of recognition I received. When a promotion came up that we were both being considered for, I got it. Heather congratulated me to my face and, from what I later pieced together, began planning something else that same week. 2 months after I was promoted, the firm's managing partner called me into his office. Our internal audit had discovered that several $1,000s in petty cash had been removed from the firm over the last 6 weeks. Security footage, he said, clearly showed me accessing the petty cash drawer on the mornings when the missing amounts corresponded. He said I had until the end of the day to resign quietly or face termination and a referral to the police. I was stunned. I had accessed the petty cash drawer only once in my 3 years at the firm, and that had been to retrieve a receipt for a client meal 6 months earlier. I asked to see the footage. He said that would be handled by HR and that for now I should clear my desk. I asked to be walked through the specific dates and times. He hesitated and said he would get back to me. I did not resign. I went home, called a friend who was a criminal defense attorney, and asked her what to do. She said the first thing was to not sign anything. The second thing was to request, in writing, a copy of the security footage. The third was to document everything I had done on each of the dates in question. I did all 3. For the 6 dates in question, I had logged activity on 4 of them that proved I was not in the building. 2 of those dates, I had been on business travel for the firm itself, with boarding passes and hotel receipts. One of those dates, I had been in an all-day client audit where 16 other people could confirm my presence. The 4th date, I had been out sick with documentation from my doctor. The other 2 dates I was in the building, but I had no specific reason to have accessed petty cash. My attorney sent a firm letter to the managing partner demanding the footage and stating that any further action against me before the footage was produced would be treated as defamation. The footage was produced within 5 days. It was clear. It was time-stamped. And the person accessing petty cash on each of the 6 dates was Heather, who had worn, on 2 of the dates, a jacket similar to mine. The managing partner had looked at a single still frame in grainy resolution and had convinced himself he was looking at me. The managing partner apologized in writing. Heather was terminated. I was reinstated with back pay and a written clearance of my record. I did not sue. I did not want the story to follow me. My attorney and I agreed a clean resolution was more valuable than a larger settlement. Heather disappeared from my life. I assumed she had learned. 14 months later, my phone rang. The woman on the other end introduced herself and said her name was Priya. She said she worked at an accounting firm in another city. She said she had been accused of stealing from the firm's petty cash and that she had been given 48 hours to resign or face termination. She said she had been told security footage proved it was her. She said during her search for help, she had come across a brief industry article about my own case, which had mentioned my name and a few identifying details. She had, on a hunch, searched for the name of the coworker who had been terminated in my case. That coworker was now a senior at her firm. The coworker was Heather. Priya and I spoke for 2 hours. We compared every detail of the 2 cases. The pattern was nearly identical. Same target profile, a woman who had recently been promoted over Heather. Same method. Petty cash access, grainy footage, similar clothing. Same timeline, the accusation coming 2 to 3 months after the promotion. We agreed that Priya would request her own security footage through counsel, the way I had. We agreed that Priya would also ask her firm to compare their footage to the footage on the dates of her alleged theft. She did. The footage at her firm showed Heather again. Same approach, same borrowed jacket, same shaking hand at the petty cash drawer. Priya's firm responded very differently than mine had. They involved the police directly. The investigation that followed uncovered a pattern of behavior at both firms, and, through interviews, at a third firm Heather had worked at briefly between mine and Priya's. At each firm, a woman had been promoted over Heather and then framed for theft shortly after. Heather was charged with multiple counts of theft and 2 counts of making false statements to employers. She accepted a plea deal that included a year of incarceration and restitution to all 3 firms. Priya and I have stayed in touch. We are not close friends, but we check in twice a year, usually around the anniversary of the day she called me. Here's what I learned. People who successfully get away with something once believe, almost universally, that they can get away with it again. Their second attempt is usually sloppier than their first because they have stopped being afraid. If you have ever been framed and walked away thinking the story was over, stay curious. The person who did it to you will, eventually, try it on someone else. And that someone else may, one day, reach out to you. Have you ever been wrongly accused at work? Tell me in the comments.